name is Ashley Hill. I am your college success coach, and I want to welcome you to another radio broadcast of College Prep Radio. I'm so excited that for those of you that are listening in live, thank you so much for listening in, and I really appreciate your support and for sharing it with other college-bound teens and families about the resources and the different topics and different experts that we have here on the show. I really, really appreciate that. And while I'm on that subject, feel free to spread the message tonight. Have your friends and family call in, to get resources for their teens heading to college. And they can call area code 347-857-4638. Again, that's 347-857-4638. And you're welcome to call in and ask questions or send me a message. I'm on Twitter. And that is at Prep, the word for FOR College. That's Prep, the word for FOR College. So right now, send me a tweet, ask a question if need be. But also, just so you know that all of our shows are recorded and they are archived so that you can listen to them at any time. Also, they are on iTunes. So parents on your long commute, going to and from work or the different activities with your kids, you can definitely tune in to our previous shows and future shows as well. Okay, so before we get into tonight's topic, I want to give a quick introduction. If this is your first time listening in, as I mentioned, my name is Ashley Hill. I am a college success coach, and I'm really passionate about providing resources and expert guidance to our college-bound teens and families. And really where that stems from is I was very fortunate when I was going through the college preparation process and application process that my parents really put resources around me. They got me involved early in the process. I was 13 years old at my first college fair, and I was in college. I was accepted into college before I even went on Christmas break. Of my senior year. I was very excited about that. And I was able to garner, adequate scholarship funds to help keep my, tuition costs low and college-related costs low. And so from all those experiences and then helping my brother and then others, I really wanted to provide a platform to share these resources because parents and those listening, there are millions, and I say this all the time, but it is. There are millions of applicants applying to colleges each year. And parents, not only is that just in your local town or in your state or in your neighboring states or even the U.S., but now we have to consider that there are international students coming in and competing and vying for these same freshman seats. So really, parents, what I've discovered is that your teens, when they're in this process, it's challenging, time-consuming, yes, but so worth it. So worth the investment of time and resources in this process. But what I've discovered is that when your teens have a strategy in place, parents, when you're involved, when you're preparing well in advance, and I'm talking about years in advance, at least sixth grade, even earlier if possible, at least start having the talks. But when you are involved, parents, and when your teens are engaged early on in the process and you have the right tips and tools and resources, I find that those students and families are very successful in this process, and they're able to lessen that burden because they're going out there early enough and they're getting the grants and they're getting the scholarships so that they don't have to take out as many student loans. Because as you can imagine, whether it's a recession or not, having that burden of student loan debt when you get out of college and trying to find a job, it can definitely be stressful. And so this is why, I'm constantly encouraging the families I work with and teens, every day that if you just start early, you can work together, parents, and use strategies to lessen that burden, of paying for college. So it's very, very important. Now, what I also like to mention as well is that parents is very important to understand what I call the partnership model. And that's not only the teen, of course, the teen is the applicant, so yes, they're involved in the process. But parents, you're a major part of the process because parents, you're your child's first teacher. You're the major example in your child's life. They need you there. They may not tell you, but I'll let you know in a secret. They need you there. I'm sure many of you know that. They need your guidance. They need your support. They need your guidance and your love, as they're going through, this process, really into adulthood and college as well. The other part of the partnership model, obviously, is the educators and the administrators, college counselors, in the high schools, and different coaches and therapists and speech language, therapists and all those different personnel. And then the other part of the model is a community. And by community, that's your local businesses, your local religious, places of worship, and different nonprofit organizations who work with youth and who, bring in college fairs and different events to get your teens exposed, different summer camps and scholarship programs and internships and mentorships and different programs like that. So all of that together, all those parts working together truly is a recipe for success for your teams. And so I really stress that. I just want to take a moment and share that with you for those who are new and listening in. I'm a strong believer in the partnership model. So on to today's topic, and that is I'm going to talk about 5 mistakes that I'm seeing consistently that teens are making when they're applying for scholarships, and it's costing them dollars. And parents, I want to paint a scenario here. Depending on whether your student is interested in a private college or 4-year or 2-year, the costs are rising. There's no surprise there. You don't have to be, an expert to know that. So the costs are going up. And something I want to touch on before we get into these 5 mistakes is that it's not just tuition, but you need to consider dorm fees, parents, if your teens are living on campus. Their extracurriculars, entertainment, if they have a car, that's insurance, that's gas, repairs, maintenance. Are they traveling back and forth home? If they don't have a car, those costs. Clothes, washing clothes. They may not want to eat in the student union or cafeteria every day. They may want to go to a concert in a neighboring city. So all those different things need to be factored in as well. Parents, and I just want you to be mindful of that, and that's why I'm really stressing is to have these talks early. Obviously, what the talks will consist of will change depending on your child's age, sure. But at least, I would say at least by 6th grade, parents, you need to start talking about college, and that's what I call creating the college-going culture. That starts with having those talks around the dinner table. Maybe you guys are watching a movie, you can maybe throw it in there, or maybe you can, take your kid out for ice cream and throw it in there. But they need to know that this is a priority, that we're talking about this because we want to be prepared. It was interesting. I was just reading a quote the other day. I was on Twitter conversing with some students, and I saw an interesting tweet where it said an emergency is an emergency because people aren't prepared. When you're prepared, and yes, things may come and go, you're ready because you have a plan in place to face that. And that's what I'm going to get into tonight is a lot of families, I watched while I was in college and then working with them now. When you're not prepared, different things happen. A parent loses a job or the parent's divorce or what have you, that changes that financial situation for that student. And if they're not prepared, there can be some negative outcomes. And sometimes it's that the student doesn't go to school, or they, have to drop to part-time, or they have to pay for each class one by themselves. And, we don't want that. But you want to garner as much scholarships and grants because you don't have to repay those back. And so that's what we're talking about tonight. Again, I just want to stop really quickly. Feel free to call in, area code 347-857-4638. Again, that's 347-857-4638. All right, the first mistake, and I just actually touched on this, is teens and families are not understanding their financial situation. I mentioned a few shows back talking about financial aid a few shows ago, and I was reading a statistic where a lot of teens are assuming that their parents are paying for all of their college costs. Now, that's a very controversial topic. People have different sides. I can understand both sides. But if parents and teens are talking and they wait till they get into junior, senior year, if the parents aren't able to, cover all the costs of college, there's going to be a problem. That's a failure to communicate. And that's why I'm stressing for parents to talk early. Because teens, as I'm going to get into the next mistake, you need to know what is in place now. Say, hey, mom and dad, is there a savings account set up? Are we starting from scratch? Are my aunts and uncles, is there some kind of something set up? You need to assess the situation before you can make a plan. And that's the first mistake, because a lot of teens are waiting too late because they're not talking. And parents, as well, you guys are in this partnership together, as families aren't talking. And, that really creates a problem because one person thinks one thing. As I mentioned in this study, majority of teens just said, oh, mom and dad will cover it. And now a lot of parents, because of just different, unemployment, rise in medical costs, healthcare costs, and different things, they're saying, hey, we don't have it. We hardly have a retirement fund. So that is definitely why, parents, I'm stressing to you, don't wait for your teens to come to you. Take the initiative, be the model, and sit down with them. Get out a calculator, get out your budget, talk numbers with them. This is their future, so they definitely need to be invested in this conversation, and you can definitely initiate it, parents. Okay, next mistake is not setting goals when they're in the scholarship search and application process. So what do I mean? I tell all of my students and families, and I stress this as well, is you need to have goals in mind. But you can't have the goals in mind and in place until you know your situation. You're going to see all 5 of these mistakes are all interrelated. They're interconnected. And so the second one is that students are not setting a goal for, A, how many scholarships am I going to apply for? And the answer, and I'm going to get into why, you can't just say, well, as many as I can. Okay, well, that's not specific enough. You need to make specific goals so that you can reach those milestones. So that's the number one, that's the part A mistake, and they're not setting the goals, that they're not setting how many they're going to apply. And then number two, they don't even have a process for how am I searching for these scholarships. And that's very key because parents, what's the main resource for all of us wish we had more of? Time. We wish we had more time. Your teens are in several after-school groups. You're busy parents. You probably have more than one child. There's a lot going on, and so your teens, I'm going to get into this, is they have to have goals in place, have it organized and structured such that, yes, as I mentioned, it is a challenging and time-consuming process, but if they have the right strategies in place, if they have the right guidance in place, the right organization and structure to searching and applying for scholarships, they're going to be more successful and thus, increase their chances of winning more scholarship dollars. The next one is not having a schedule. I just touched on that. I'm going to delve into it now. What I mean by schedule, for example, I put out on Facebook on my personal page, which is Prep the number 4 college, my Facebook page, and I asked families over this past holiday weekend, how many parents, at first I asked, well, parents, how did you encourage your teens, to apply for scholarships and get ready for college? And I got a good response. And then also I encouraged parents to just encourage their teens to take 1 hour. Parents, you'll be amazed at what you can do in 1 hour if you focus. And the focus comes from the organization, having the goals in place, understanding where we're starting from, and having a schedule. And I encouraged them, because it was a holiday weekend this past a week ago, is just take 1 hour and just make a list. A list. I'm going to go to 5 websites today, and scholarship websites today, for example. So with the schedule, parents, it doesn't have to be complicated. I mean, simply, I encourage you to go out and get your teens a calendar, or, teens use their phone apps or what have you, and sit down and decide what's realistic, for your teen, depending on their schedule. But they need to be intentional about it so that they can complete it and see it through and follow through. But they need to look at the week. Now, my suggestions is if your teen is really busy, then they need to devote Saturday and Sunday to searching, but they need to minimum an hour a day. And that's being really, really lenient. When I was searching for scholarships, parents, I was doing more 2 hours, 3 hours, depending on my schedule. So 1 hour is minimum if they're focused. On the weekends, I would be doing more. Now, obviously, if you're 13 years old, and there are scholarships, parents, for your 13-year-olds. That's on my website, collegeprepready.com. You can click on scholarships, and the link is there for them in addition to the high school students. But if you're 13, obviously, you need to have a sense of urgency, but you're not in a panic state like a senior is. or junior. Some juniors are, depending on their situation. So, you have to gauge where you are. So parents, obviously your 13-year-old, you can progress, towards, whatever goal that you guys, are going to set. Obviously, my juniors and seniors, you need to be doing more than an hour a day, for sure. Or you need to somehow figure out how to do 5 plus 10 hours, at least on the weekends. Somehow you need to be squeezing all that in. And you know what? I know when you say the number 5 or 10 hours in a week, it sounds like a lot, but again, you can break that up. If you do 2 half-hour sessions, or, if you're taking the bus home, you can, if you have internet on your phone, you can, take 15, 20 minutes. You can break it up. So you don't have to sit there for 1 hour. I think an hour is best. I really advise that. But if you can sit for 2 hours and do that, or whatever you need to do, but it's with knowing teens and parents that this is very important, because the more scholarship dollars your teens receive, that's less of the financial burden on you and your teens as a family. So it's very, very important. So you have to make sacrifices. I had to sacrifice. I was in band and so many different other groups in high school, but I took out the time every week because I had goals in place. I knew where we were starting from as a family. And so it made it easier because I maintained that organization. And you just have to work around, your schedule, but make it work. Make something realistic and achievable goals that can work. And I want to piggyback on the not setting goals, that second mistake. It's also, you can either set it by hour, which I think is best, or parents, you can encourage your teens to say, hey, I'm going to apply to 5 scholarships a week, or 3 scholarships a day, or I'm going to visit 2 websites a week and, fill out, so many scholarships a day. So, again, it needs to be realistic, and that's what I'm getting at here. I really can't say that. I can't say a number is going to fit everyone, because everyone's situation is different. But you have to find out, parents, what's going to work for your teens. And you be involved in as well, parents, and keep the communication open, because you can come alongside. Now, obviously, you don't want to nag and fuss and fight and argue with your teens. But if you're aware of the schedule, you can just check in with them and just say, hey, you said your goal was 10 scholarship applications. You wanted to complete them this week. Did you get to that goal? And if they tell you no, then say, how can I help? Ask your teens' parents, is there any way that I can come in and help? And I'm sure that they'll definitely let you know. Number 4, this is a major mistake, not having a search strategy. So many teens just kind of randomly, now in the beginning that's fine, if you're just kind of, curious about what's out there. But again, we're talking about the essence of time. And also, with the varying deadlines, parents, obviously it's more advantageous for your teens to, at least have a few months out so that they have time to produce, meet the requirements, of the scholarship committee and, put their best foot forward in presenting a winning scholarship application and therefore winning scholarship dollars. So when we talk about the search strategy, 2 things your teens need to have in mind, and parents, you as well. I'm encouraging all teens, and we're going to put this resource up on our website very soon, as I'm encouraging teens to create a scholarship search profile. And what that means is I want your teens to take an inventory of all of their interests, sports interests, if they're into theater, music, writing, history. You can help with this part, parents, but if they have, other cultural backgrounds that they may not know about, they may be descendants of, of another culture, you can help with that. Also, their future career interests, intended majors, if they have a unique talent, maybe they're really tall, all of those different aspects they need to include into what I call a profile. And that can serve as the foundation for, how to go about this search strategy, because they can actually, parents, there are actually scholarships out there if you have a certain last name, if you're from a certain culture. They have scholarships based on gender, divided by race, divided by, if you volunteer over 100 hours. There are so many different opportunities out there, but parents, your teens, it can save them more time, I believe, in the long run if they kind of have a focus, for the beginning. Now, obviously, there are more general scholarships, and I'm definitely encouraging your teens to seek those out, but also, to be aware that there are scholarships for unique traits, abilities, interests, and talents, and to pursue those as well. Because think about it, parents, if the scholarship is for for girls who are very tall, and if that's your daughter, hey, you're doing better than maybe some of our male students who are just kind of aimlessly looking. They may spend 5 minutes reading through the requirements of that instead of just saying, oh, okay, I need to go here. Okay, I need to go here. So they can maximize their time. All right. And our last mistake is forgetting to proofread their scholarship application. Parents, I know your son or daughter may be the best writer in their class. There's no, no argument from me there. That's the case. But encourage your teams to have someone else, preferably a teacher, a neutral party, not their best friend, but someone who's not afraid to correct their application. Parents, I would suggest you as well, if your teen is okay with that. I can understand that may be touchy, with some families. But, maybe a minister at your church, or maybe a neighbor, or, again, their teacher, guidance counselor, maybe someone working in the local nonprofit organizations in your community. But so many teens send in scholarship applications with misspelled words, incorrect grammar, the verb and subject don't agree in the sentence. Maybe the paper has food stains and juice is spilled on it. It's crumpled up. It's not neat. And parents, you have to understand, just like your college application, the scholarship, the people deciding, over these dollars, which there are millions available, by the way, they're looking at these applications, and that's a reflection of your student, your child. And think about it, parents. If you were to receive an application and it's crumpled up, it's got food stains, and it's, different things on it, and it's messy, and it's not organized, you're going to get a mental picture of that applicant. Now, your son or daughter may not be messy or disorganized or what have you, but if that's what they're presenting to the scholarship committee, that is the mental picture that those members of that board, that's what they're getting of your son or daughter. And just like you need to put your best foot forward with the college application, you need to put the same quality into these scholarship applications. Because, to be honest, parents, a lot of scholarship committees, that's the quickest way to weed out people. Oh, you misspelled, and I'm not, perhaps if you made one spelling error, it depends. But if you have several, hey, a committee could say, oh, you're out. Let's look at let's narrow down the field here to this set of applicants. And so parents, stress with your teens, say, and let them have a process in place. Have several people, ready, ask them ahead of time. Hey, would you mind looking over my scholarship essay? Would you mind this? And parents, here's another tip. Before your teens, send their essays, to their neighbor or teacher to read, encourage your teens to read it out loud. Because there's a difference when you're reading something, silently, and you read it out loud. The words jump off the page, and sometimes you can hear your own mistakes. So, that's kind of like another set of eyes right there, parents, is having your teens to do that as well. So, again, I want to go over the 5 mistakes that you cannot absolutely make. Parents, is number 1 is not understanding the financial situation. Number 2 is not setting the proper goals for scholarship searching and applying for the scholarship. Number 3 is not having a schedule, no organization to applying for scholarships. Number 4 is not having a search strategy for applying and finding these scholarships. And then the last mistake I mentioned is forgetting to proofread and have someone else proofread the application. So parents, this is very important. Now, as I mentioned, we do have scholarship resources online on our website. That's collegeprepready.com. Feel free to visit those right now. We're constantly adding resources there, so feel free to check back often. Also, feel free, again, to reach out to me on Twitter. That's the word for, FOR College. Also, feel free to leave me a message or ask me questions on my Facebook page. That's Prep, the number 4 College. Again, that's Prep, the number 4 College. Also, on our website, we do have a blog, the College Prep Ready blog. Feel free to check out our newest, we have the guest post, Monica Matthews. She's our scholarship expert. And feel free to check out her guest blog post, which is up today. Also, I want to talk to you about a very exciting event. We're so busy here at College Prep Ready. And so in January, we're going to have our 12 Days After New Year's event. And I'm going to be featuring for you, parents, the top 12 must-have resources for your teens to get ahead in 2013. There are 12 resources, parents, that you must get for your teens so that they can stand out among the competition and be ready for college. So stay tuned for that. Also, we have our exciting program. If you do have questions, parents, and you want one-on-one with me, I do provide one-on-one coaching with your teen, and we get a strategy together for them for the entire process, not just applying for scholarships, but also for the entire college preparation and application process. And that's our Student Executive Academy program. So feel free to read more about that on our website. The link is there. And that's a 6-month coaching program. That's our starter program. And, again, that's one-on-one coaching with me. I give you just what you need to know. And parents, again, I'll craft out a strategy for your team, so I encourage you to check that out and sign your kids up for the program. Also, if you would like to email me either questions or if there's a topic that you would like me to talk about on the radio show or an expert that you would like me to feature, you can email me at info@collegeprepready.com. Again, that's info@collegeprepready.com. Now, as we're getting ready to wind down another great show, I've had so much fun talking to you guys today. Again, parents, be encouraged. Encourage your kids. Be the models for them. Again, feel free to reach out to the resources around you. I've mentioned the ways that you can get in contact with me. Make sure you're, getting in contact with your local communities as well. And with that said, I hope you guys have a great weekend ahead, and I'll talk to you soon.